Clarita here, and I've got a new sponsor, DistroKid. If you want to release your music into the world, DistroKid's the easiest way to get your music into all the major streaming platforms, unlimited uploads, and keep 100% of your royalties. And because you're a Design Freaks listener, you get 30% off. Go to distrokid.com/VIP/designfreaks. DistroKid. Hi, and welcome to another episode of Design Freaks, the podcast. I like to talk about music industry, art, and design with fellow creatives, record covers, posters, zines, etc. The stories and people behind the graphics. For Freaks by Freaks. I'm Clarita, and I am your host. Thank you so much for listening. This is episode 56. My guest today is Jeffrey Everett of Rockets Are Red. Jeffrey's an award-winning graphic designer, illustrator, and author working outside of Washington, D.C., hence all of the D.C. bands he's designed for. He's designed for Lou Reed, Jason Mraz. Is that how you say it? Mraz. Idols, Social Distortion, Foo Fighters, Decemberists, Flight of the Conchords, Gaslight Anthem, Bouncing Souls, Patton, Oswalt, Childish, Gambino, etc. Many, many more. Universal Records, LiveNation, Dreamworks, and more. RocketsAreRed.com with hyphens. But first, before the interview, thank you so much for listening. If you enjoy the show, please share it with other vinyl and design freaks and leave an iTunes review and subscribe. You can find everything at designfreakspodcast.com, all my socials. You can donate if you'd like to, buy some merch. And for more music-related podcasts, go ahead and check out ruinousmedia.com. And now, here's my chat with Jeffrey. Actually, heads up, the interview abruptly starts because as soon as we got on our call, he starts telling stories. So I just stealthily pressed record. And he's going to be talking about being in a Zoom meeting with Dr. Fauci right away. So normal stuff. Anyway, here's my chat with Jeffrey of Rockets Are Red. Keep going.
So we're having this very serious conversation about, COVID and people dying and stuff like that. And I just start hearing like a tapping noise. And I'm like, what is that sound? And then out of nowhere, my cat Mabel falls through the ceiling behind me.
Oh my God.
And landed perfectly fine. And then just kind of scampered away. And all I hear is, hold on. Mr. Everett, did something fall out of your ceiling? And I was like, yes, Dr. Fauci, that was my cat, Mabel. Is the cat okay? Cat's fine. Okay, good. And then right back to talking about the pandemic. So, yeah.
Wow. Okay, two things I want to know. First of all, there's so much I want to know.
God.
What were you doing in a meeting with Dr. Fauci? Can I ask?
So I got a job as a senior designer at the National Institutes of Health.
Mm-hmm.
So all the COVID stuff that you see telling you to wash your hands and stay inside if you're sick, I designed those in about 30 minutes before the world went crazy.
The CDC official.
Yes. And for 3 years when I was traveling around or stuck inside. I even went to Seattle over the summer, and I walked into a taco restaurant, and my signage was up in the bathrooms. And I just said, out of all the stuff that I'll ever do in my life, this will be the most seen and most hated thing I'll ever do. So, Yeah.
Ugh,
I
at
thought,
least it's everywhere.
oh God, but it's like obsessive punkers are really bad. QAnon is even worse. I got
Mm-hmm.
like targeted by QAnon.
What?
Oh yeah.
Oh, how did they find out you were the designer?
So I won a design award, and Graphic Design USA put a picture of Fauci that I drew on the cover,
Uh-oh.
and then like they found me. And so
Ay.
I was like at the beach with, parents playing cards, and I looked
Mhm.
down at my Instagram and it's like boom 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 boom, and it's all like
Mhm.
death to Jeffrey Everett and you
Hmm.
suck and you're ruining America. And
What? I'm sorry to laugh because those people are harmful, but I mean, aren't you trying to prevent harm? Like, I don't get it.
you would think, but like, so in 2017 I was working with this band called Black Clouds, and they were doing a show at Comet Ping Pong in
Mhm.
DC. Have you heard all about this? And
No, I have
oh
not.
God, okay. So it's this whole conspiracy theory that Democrats had like children sex slaves hidden in
Mm.
this pizza parlor. And
In
so
your drop ceiling?
in the basement, in the basement,
I'm kidding.
but there was no basement there. So the drop ceiling would make more sense. So like we're pulling up to the venue, and I had done posters for the show, and the show was like a welcome to DC Donald Trump show, and it had like members of like Bad Religion were playing in bands that night, and it was just a good time. And we
Mhm.
pull up, and there's like all of these like alt-right people out front with megaphones chanting and screaming, and then they would like very politely like hand the megaphone to like the next crazy fringe group, and they would start
Mhm.
screaming out stuff. So it was like, oh, they're so polite in their death threats. So yeah.
Well, thank you so much for joining me. I started recording. I just wanted to jump right in, and you are in the middle of a great story. You have lots of great stories. Thank you for sending those to me.
Sure.
How would you introduce yourself? Do you call yourself a designer, graphic designer, artist?
I call myself a designer because I had $100,000 in student debt that said I was a designer.
There you go. 100,000. Where'd you go to school?
I got my undergraduate at American University after dropping out of the Corcoran School of Art, just like
Where are these schools?
DC.
Okay, got
Yeah.
it.
So I went to Corcoran School of Art for 2 years, just like David Lynch did, and then he dropped
Oh.
out. And then I went to AU for 2 years, and I found out later that Henry Rollins went to AU. So I felt like I was following in terrible footsteps, I guess, because he dropped out.
He's a smart guy though. Maybe
Yeah,
you don't
but
need it.
he totally was like, "Yeah, I don't need to go here," and he dropped out. So
Yep.
he didn't have the crushing school debt. And then I worked for a few years in DC at a nonprofit PR company. Just hated life. Realized that even when you're working with the good guys, sometimes the good guys are still dickwads. And so I decided to change careers, and I went back to get my master's degree at the School of Visual Arts in New York.
Nice.
Lived there
SVA.
lived there for 2 years, and I decided I needed to leave because I wanted just to start punching everybody walking down the street. You're like, I just want to
Mm-hmm.
get there. I just want to get to cross the street. and you just can't do it because it's people just staring at buildings the entire time.
Taurus.
Yeah.
Yeah. For me, I don't know if I could take the Guido factor in New York.
Well, for me,
No.
I was 28 when I went back to school. It was 18-year-old art students that made me hate everything. Because I was staying in student housing. I think I was the only person in my program actually staying in student housing, and it was just bad.
What other programs? So what? Okay, everyone else in the housing was in what programs?
Well, so SVA has undergraduate and graduate programs. So like I was staying with like 18-year-old kids who thought it was funny to run down the hallway screaming, "I'm on fire, I'm on fire" at 3:00 in the morning. To see like, a 27-year-old man who, actually went to bed at 10 o'clock, jump up and like run outside with a blanket to smother them. And it's like, oh, I was just practicing my performance art piece.
Right. I was going to ask, are these like musical theater? Because why else would you want to kill someone? It was just terrible. But like, yeah, like I remember staying there, and I walked by a room, and this girl had taken a hammer to the entire dorm room. And the mother, I guess the girl had gotten kicked out of school, and the mother was like, Sarah, like, we're going to have to pay for all of this. This is like $20,000 worth of damage. And the girl just looked at her and screamed, "You don't understand me. You never will. I'm an artist." And that was Lena Dunham.
Yes, it was. And she went on to do a whole season of Girls based on this.
Okay, well, that sounds horrific. Everyone out there, drop out of school. It's not worth it. It's too much money. I work for college admissions for a living, just so you know. But it's not an art school.
I was going to say, which school do you work for?
UW, University of Washington.
I was going to say, I think I applied there and I was rejected. So, yeah. Like, so when I decided to get back into the workforce, because I was tired over arguing over $500, I met people who were making, mid six figures, who learned how to do everything off of YouTube tutorials. And
just talk their way into it.
And it was just amazing. It was just like, you're 23, you don't know how to talk to people, you don't know how to deal with clients, but you're really good at this one thing, and nobody else knows how to do it. And on one hand, like, I really admire that. On the other hand, having stayed in contact with a lot of these people, 3 years later, they're out of a job, and everybody now knows how they did that thing 3 years ago. And so now they're scrambling to catch up.
Without a degree.
Degree.
So you go to art school. You don't start freelancing right away, right? Do you get a job? How did you learn? I mean, just in school, or how did you get to work for musicians, basically?
So I basically decided to move to New York after working several years doing nonprofit design work. And I just realized I'm going to keep doing this for the rest of my life, because your portfolio dictates what you do next. So if you only do work for nonprofits, you're going to keep working for nonprofits, because people don't seem to understand that good design for one thing, can be applied to other industries. So I went back, the program I went to at SVA was called like Designer as Author, though I think now it's been revamped to like Designer as Entrepreneur. And I went to New York, and I just was like, I just need to do something different, or I'm just going to go crazy. And when I was living in New York, I mean, this is like 03, 04. I would just start cold emailing bands I liked. And I was taking a screen printing class, and it was 8 o'clock on a Saturday morning. So it was like me and the teacher, and that was it. Like, there was nobody else in this class. And the teacher was just like, yeah, just print stuff. And so I would get in contact with bands and be like, hey, you're playing the Bowery Ballroom.
Mm-hmm.
Can I do a poster? And I had no clue what I was doing. I mean, excuse me, I saw, the gig poster books. There were people that I followed, and I just was like, yeah, I'll just start trying to do bad art chantry posters for these people. I'll do screen prints where I don't have to align anything, or, make sure the registration is proper. Oh yeah, doing black on black is a really smart marketing move. I should do that. And eventually it's like I just kept doing it. And so when I moved out of New York back to DC, I got this one job that was terrible. And they specifically hired me because they're like, oh, like, you're so kooky. You're a weirdo punk designer. And they fired me the day before my wedding after working there for 6 months. So maybe that wasn't a solid career move for me. But it really just kicked me in the ass to just be like, screw it, I'm just going to go all in, and I just went for it then.
Yeah, seize that opportunity to go off on your own.
Well, yeah, I mean, unfortunately, I just kind of realized that, design is like any other business, and I got tired of having word salad thrown at me. Like, my art director was like, Jeff, what you do is kind of more of a postmodern type of grunge, and we're really looking for like a clean contemporary distressed look instead. And I just been, what the hell does that even mean?
Clean contemporary distressed. Cool.
Yeah. So yeah.
I love when clients use a word that's super vague, but because they have a clear idea in their head, they think you can see what they can see in their head.
Yeah.
And they say the word like elegant. And they think that you can see, like, elegant can mean a zillion different things.
Right.
And so it's like, okay, here's my ideas. And they're like, are you out of your mind?
Mm-hmm.
Basically.
I'm lucky enough now that most people who I work with can kind of trust what I'm doing.
Yeah, they've seen enough of your work that they know.
Yeah. And at NIH, so I now have kind of the two careers. And at NIH, I walk in and I deal with people with legitimate Nobel Prizes and PhDs. And I walk in wearing like jeans and a black t-shirt, and I have a lot of tattoos. And when I first started working there, my boss was like, you should probably wear suits to these meetings and blah, blah, blah. And now it's like, oh, like, Nobel Prize winners are nut jobs, and most PhDs are very neurotic. And so they kind of see me as like a kindred soul when I walk in. And usually we just sit around. Yeah, we talk about our cats.
Yeah. They're people.
Yeah.
Thank you for the posters. That was really nice. You sent me quite a few. They're all screen printed. Do you do that in your house? Where do you do the screen printing, or did you do that?
I used to do all my own screen printing, and now my old broken down body can't do it anymore. And I realized I'm not very good at it. So I work with a lovely company called Triple Stamp Press in Virginia.
Oh, yeah. Their branding was somewhere on there. I saw that.
I always give credit to them, like, in the corner, because they take what I do and they make it look so much better. And they're just kooky enough where I'm like, hey, do you think you could like put blood in there? And they were like, yeah. Or like glitter, or how
Oh,
about we
blood. Yeah. You told me earlier I still smell books when I open them. That had nothing, has nothing to do with what you just said. But I've printed with blood. I've printed with glitter. I've printed using paint. I've mixed in smelly stuff. I don't want to know what that is. Nothing beats the smell of a press.
That's true. I
Blood. So they've put blood on the screen.
Yes, I mean but it's not like they're printing only with blood, because having done that before, it rots. It actually like turns brown and will rot
Mm-hmm.
the paper. So we've done things where we've like squeezed blood in from like meat. I'm also a vegetarian, so um but they've
That's
squeezed blood in. We've done glitter. We've done things like mixed perfume in. Um I've used when I was printing on my own, I would use house paint
mm-hmm.
to print, and it would just make everything stink. So I did that for the Melvins, and because I wanted their posters to smell terrible. Um,
Okay.
I don't think they appreciated that as much as I did. But
Did it work?
it did. I did a poster for them that was an ice cream cone with a ball of shit on top, with a cherry
Uh-huh.
bomb about to explode.
Ah.
And I
Yeah.
thought this was hilarious. And I don't know
Uh-huh.
if the band did. The posters sold really well.
You've worked with some great people. I love the stories. You sent me a couple. I'm not sure if you sent me duplicates or if you have multiple fish stories, but the Lou Reed thing was really funny. The fish story. I do want to talk about your book. Is this book like a coffee table book with all imagery of all your work, or is it the storytelling as well?
It is right now it's 444 pages, and it's nothing but concert posters I've done over the last 20 years. I think there's over 350 of them. And between each chapter, I think there's 10 chapters. I have just writings and pontifications, and my editor said they were funny, so I guess
Yeah.
that's all that matters. I have an interview with my publisher in there, uh, Shauna Keeney, who did
Mm-hmm.
I Was a Teenage Dominatrix,
Mm-hmm.
writes the forward. So
Cool.
it's weird. I'm a person who never looks at my old work.
Mm-hmm.
So it was pretty cringe looking through 20 years of posters and being like, well, that one sucks. That one sucks. That one's
Oh,
okay.
way to sell it. Way to sell it. We always think our work sucks. Okay, so for my listeners, tell us the name of the book and the website that you put up.
Website went up today. The name of the book is Let It Bleed, and the website is let-it-bleed.com. It's now live. I'm thinking we're self-publishing this, and we're thinking it will probably now go up in January, but we're collecting information so we can let people know when it releases. It's a big 9 by 11.5 inches. It weighs multiple pounds. It can
Wow.
probably stop a bullet, and it is all designed right now. We're just going through and tweaking it.
Cool. Congratulations.
Thank you.
That's great. I'll have to get one at some point, but I saw the website and it looks good. I'm sure that's not everything, but it was like a sampler.
Yeah.
Yeah, very cool.
And so we're going to be doing a couple speaking engagements when the book releases. And then I had a really nice fella, Carlos, who he wanted to do me telling stories about all my weird clients. So we'll be releasing videos of how Lou Reed calls me a dumb motherfucker.
Good. That's
Lou.
funny. So okay, will you first of all, when does the book come out? And then we'll tell a couple of the stories.
I believe we're doing the Kickstarter in January.
Okay.
And then we're doing that more just to gauge interests, and the book should start printing in March for release in the summer. So
Okay. So next year, got that to look forward to.
yeah.
Okay. So Lou Reed, tell us how that all happened.
So Lou Reed's manager contacted me to do a tour poster basically through Italy and kind of Southern Europe. So we ended up working together, and I ended up doing a poster of like a man riding a motorcycle with a woman turned around. It's like they're kind of straddling each other as they're going down.
Mm-hmm.
And Lou calls me up one day. He's like, I want you to put a tattoo on the biker. And I'm like, yeah, sure. What do you want? He's like, I want you to write "fuck the Pope" going up his arm. And I'm like, oh, okay. It's a little risque, but sure. What the hell? I'm a recovering Baptist. Let's go for it. And so I write, I draw it up, put it on the email, send it to him and the manager. And not 30 seconds after I send it, the manager calls me up and she's like, you got to take the fucking tattoo off, man. We're playing Rome for like a week straight. This is not going to go well. So
we're playing the Vatican.
Yeah. I was like, okay. So I take it off, and, Lou kind of grumbled about that. And so after the tour, though, a few months later, I got a surprise gift from him where it was the poster and he drew the tattoo back onto it with like a big Lou Reed next to it. So I was like, oh, cool. He gets it. So he does that record with Metallica, the Lulu record, which is it's a classic. Everyone has 3 copies. And
height of his career.
So his manager at the time, or like his assistant, if this gives you any indication of what it's like to work with Lou, his assistant during that recording process quits to go work with Lars because Lars is an easier person to deal with than Lou Reed. And if you've ever heard the stories about Lars, you can figure out, how bad Lou must have been. So Lou decides to go and do this tour without Metallica because no one cared for the record. And I drew up a few sketches for the next tour, and one of them that he liked was basically kind of like a hooker and a ballet dancer, and they're kind of squaring off in a doorway with the prostitute kind of pinning the ballet dancer against the wall, and which is the whole kind of concept behind the record. It's a ballet dancer who gets hooked on drugs, becomes a prostitute. So he writes me, and we have this meeting, and he goes, I want to make this like a series, and I want to have like 5 posters. And I'm like, okay. And he's like, okay, so I want it to be the first one, like this one poster you did. And then I want it to be the next one, they're kissing. The third one is they're both naked. The fourth one is they're cutting each other up with knives. And then the fifth one is they're spitting human fluids into each other's mouths.
Jesus, Lou. Okay, go ahead.
And I was like, okay, kind of like processing it. And he goes, I want it to be X-rated. I want it to be explicit. And I want it to be vulgar.
This is for his tour?
This is for his tour. And I remember I actually wrote those words down, and I have the Post-it notes still in my sketchbook. So, I have kids. My kids see my work. It always terrifies me when they Google me. And so I decide to do it. And I'm like, all right, I don't have to be super crass about it. I can go the Mapplethorpe route instead, like it's risky, but at least it's well drawn, I guess. So I do a whole bunch of sketches and I send them over to him. A couple days later, I get a call from his manager, and Tom goes, "Hey, I got Lou on the line for you."
Oh, God.
And I'm thinking like, "Oh, great! He's calling me up so we can go over these because he's so jazzed." And so I put it on speaker, and I'm sitting in my little office, and Lou gets on, and he just goes, "You're a dumb motherfucker, aren't you?"
Oh,
And then
God.
for 30 minutes berates me. My work sucks. What the hell am I thinking? You can't show, quote, tits on a poster. Like,
Wait, he's saying that you shouldn't have shown tits on a poster? What?
Yes, like I should somehow have done a vulgar and explicit poster series about, women having violent sex and not shown any nudity. But I just sat there as he got really angry, and I looked kind of out my studio door, and my cat was defecating in its litter box while staring at me.
Oh, my God. Weird.
And I just yeah. And I just kind of went, this is the pinnacle of my life. I'm being called dumb by a rock and roll legend as my cat judges and defecates in front of me. So,
Well, you're not the first one with the Lou Reed story. Arish Khan, aka King Khan, on his episode, talked about Lou getting mad at him because, well, he was friends with Lou Reed and Laurie Anderson, and they went to a concert together, and it was kind of like a spiritual thing, and they're all sitting on the ground, cross-legged, watching the show. And for some reason, Arish felt compelled to do that thing where you go, "What's that on your shirt?" and then you boop someone's nose. And he did that to Lou Reed. He just was like, don't do that to me. That's what I would do. I get mad when people try to high five me.
really?
And I'm not even Lou Reed. I'm just like, we're not doing that. Don't high five me, please.
I don't know what people do anymore, if they like handshake or do the fist bump. So like I end up kind of doing like this thing eventually, just kind of like, I'm like the Queen of England, and you can just kind of do that.
Sure.
But I hate people hugging me. I went to a concert a couple of weeks ago, and saw a band. The opening band was so good, and then the main band was like, it was like watching someone that you had a crush on in high school, and you just kind of go, God, why did I ever like them? And then afterwards, people were there and they're like trying to hug me because they're like, "Oh, you're the poster guy," and like they were trying to, and I was like, "No, don't."
Yeah, post COVID, no one should hug anybody. And the high five thing, I feel like it's a power move. Like, once my hand is up, you have to, or you're rude.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it's like putting me in a weird position that feels pushy, and I don't like it. It's cringy, it's uncomfortable, it's dorky. Don't do that, because I'm going to leave you hanging, or I'm going to put my hand and I'm going to go down low.
And then you're going to take it away at the last minute.
And then I'm going to do that. I'm going to comb my hair. I'm going to mime that.
And you got a good coif of hair, so you can do that. It doesn't work too well for me. How do you greet people then? Do you just do like the head nod of appreciation?
Well, high-fiving isn't for greeting. That's for like, yay, we did it. But you don't need to you can just say, yay, we did it. Or congrats or whatever.
I have met people by doing high fives, and I just kind of am like, yeah, no. Because usually they go for the high five and then they go in for the bro hug right after that.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm just like, oh, no.
Yeah, again, post-COVID, there shouldn't be, like, if you try to fist bump me, that's cool. See, that's why fist bumps were invented. Because it's a low pressure, it's a low commitment thing. Like, okay,
Yeah.
anybody can do that. It's not a big deal. You can fist bump with a baby, which is cute. Anyways, so back to your book, to your clients, what
Mhm.
other crazy, like, are there any other stories like that of someone who was like, who stands out in your career?
Oh God, so many NDAs that I've had to sign.
Okay,
Let's
well,
see. I've had a manager threaten to kill my family over $500 that they didn't want to pay
uh-oh.
me.
Okay.
And I had a nervous breakdown in front of my house because of that.
Uh-oh.
I got voted the worst fish poster of all time back in 2013. I have since learned that I've been usurped though. So my punk rock pride kind of hurts because I really wanted to have the worst fish poster of all time.
Can I post that on my website, designfreakspodcast.com,
Sure.
for my listeners to see?
Yeah.
That's where you go, listeners. Go look at
Jeff,
that fish poster.
the band really liked it and they sold out, made a gajillion dollars off of it. But people were like, I don't know, man, it doesn't have enough drugs and spaceships on it.
Yeah,
So,
it's probably too nice for them.
yeah, it really was. It really was. Sorry, I didn't like smear berries on a piece of paper.
No shade to the fish people. There's some good fish people, but probably not the same taste as yours, because a lot of your stuff is very rock and roll. It's very vector. Like, is it all Illustrator, like vector art? Like, how do
It
you
is
make this
all.
art?
It is all. I do really loose sketches at the beginning,
Mm-hmm.
and then I scan them in and I draw on top of them,
Mm-hmm.
and do a lot of just. Frankly, it was a lot of because I was trained as a designer. I don't consider myself an illustrator, so like the first years where I actually was trying to draw my own stuff, it was
Mm-hmm.
I'll just make 3/4 of the poster blue. There we go, done. I'll do like a wallpaper effect over it. Yay, it looks nice.
So, are you using the pen tool? What are you
Yeah,
using?
yeah. I use a Wacom tablet to do all of it. I used to do really detailed pen and ink work when I was younger, and now I have tendonitis all up my right arm. So that's super fun to deal with. But yeah, so now I do really a lot of like detailed architectural drawings. I do a lot of portraits, and I think one of the things I've really liked about my career is I haven't found like that one thing that I do and only do that. I don't have like a catch-all application. I really try to figure out what a band is about and then draw that. So I approach it like as a design solution, as a design, what is best for this band to illustrate who they are, not necessarily, hey, I'm Jeffrey Everett and I'm going to draw something and then just slap a band name over it.
Yeah, I'm looking through your work. So we talked about the Let It Bleed book, but your website is called Rockets Are Red. It's Rockets Are Red with hyphens between the words, right? .com.
Gotta love the hyphens because everything else is bought up.
Oh, okay. Yeah, it works. And you've worked for Patton Oswalt, and I see poster for Beck. There's a lot of great stuff here. The band Idols, they're really awesome. Do you work directly with the musician, or is there usually management involved?
It goes both ways. When I worked with Idols, I worked with the management, their fan club president, and then worked with like the lead singer. So that was weird. And yeah, I don't know English slang really well. So when they said they were chuffed, I thought that was a bad thing, and it ended up being a good. I was like, oh, that's a good thing. Okay. And then, yeah, big, small. I've done it all. I mean, one of the things that I've found is if I draw, I was working with David Howes on a poster, and he kept thinking the woman was too pretty on the poster.
Mm-hmm.
So I had to change the face 7 times. So that was
Wow.
interesting. And then the last poster I did, he thought the woman looked too much like Hillary Clinton and thought maybe I was making a political statement. And
Uh-oh.
I was like, no, that's my friend who looks nothing like Hillary Clinton. So
Then he sent you a QAnon pamphlet. Okay.
No, he was like, I don't want anyone to think ill of Hillary Clinton. He was being
Oh,
nice.
I see. Okay, because it wasn't a flattering photo or poster.
He just was like, I don't want people to think, I'm saying something about Hillary because I like Hillary. So I was like, okay.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah, great work. You do all your typography, and I'm assuming separately from the drawings, or do you do everything all at once?
I do it all at once. I like to approach these as like full pieces.
Mm-hmm.
So, like I've met a lot of illustrators who don't, know how to use typography well. Just like I've met a lot of designers who don't know how to illustrate well. I like to think I do both kind of okay.
You do both pretty well, I think.
Thank you. I really sell myself on this. So
yeah. you get the job done. The idea comes across, and it's a specific style, and it's a recognizable style, I think.
Thank you. I mean, I like to, having done this for so long, I speak down about my artwork primarily because, especially in DC, I would go and like win design awards for my work, and people would be like, "Oh, you're the one who does the little posters, don't you?" And so I kind of am self-deprecating just to beat everybody else to the punch.
Mm-hmm.
And to stay humble a little bit. But no, man, like for me, like going to the concert a few weeks ago, like people came up and like were showing me tattoos of my work.
Wow.
And I've had people say they've bought my posters, and do you happen to have another one, because my husband and I are getting divorced and we're arguing over who gets what posters. And it's pretty cool after 20 years to hear people say that the stuff you did when you're just trying to figure it out has meant so much to them that they've gone into fist fights over it.
Whoa.
Yeah. My dad came to visit me, it was like a decade ago, and we were doing posters. I did posters for Rancid, and they're doing 3 nights at this really small club in DC. And my dad was like, "Hey, why don't I hang out with you while you sling posters?" And I don't think he got the crowd at all. He certainly didn't like the music. But like at the end of the show, this like little 5'2", punk girl is walking by, and her poster is like, she obviously like used it as a baseball bat in the pit. Like it's all crinkled, it's rolled, it's all dirt. I mean, I think there was blood on there. And my dad was like, why don't you go give her another one? That one's all ruined. Just be a nice guy and go give her a poster. And so she came over. Excuse me. She came over, and I was like, hey, do you want another poster? That one's all ruined. And she was like, no, man. Like, this poster has had some life on it. Just like me. I'm going to hang this one up. And I think when my dad saw that, he kind of understood a little bit more, rock posters, this kind of stuff. Like, it's not work that gets thrown away. It's work that gets hung on to. And people,
there's a memory attached to it.
Yeah. And like, we don't have, record covers anymore. We don't have
that kind of. How dare you?
You do. You have space for them. I don't. I mean, I got a few, the ones that I designed, but
I get what you're saying, but definitely records are being produced all the time.
But I mean, like, when I was growing up, I would have, wasn't even records, like the CDs, and like you'd fold out the CDs and you could read the lyrics, and a lot of people don't do that anymore. And kind of concert posters have replaced that.
Mm-hmm.
They have them hanging up on their walls, and that's what they look at when they stream, the essential playlist of Jeff Rosenstock or whatever.
Well, I'm looking at the Childish Gambino poster. That's really cool. It's like, looks like a cosmos with a bunch of intersecting lines making up his face, and then some brightly colored shapes behind certain areas of the lines. I really like that effect.
Thank you.
Very cool. Have you made any blacklight posters?
I've made glow in the dark posters, which is not blacklight, but I have done those like for like I did one recently for Jawbreaker when they toured, and I did it so everything, it looked like a letter on a typewriter, and I wanted it to look like, words that haven't been said. So when you turn off the lights, the words on the paper appear, but you can't see them during the day. The one I did for the show at Comet Ping Pong, when you turn off the lights, it says "Pizza is your god" on it. That did not go over well when people didn't know that would illuminate. I did one for Lamb of God, and when you turn off the lights, it had Pazuzu from The Exorcist staring at you. That definitely scared some people.
As it should.
Yeah.
Mission accomplished. Well done, I say.
More bang for your buck.
Oh yeah, if it's a art poster that has a whole other life in the dark, that's even better.
Yeah. But like, I design these stuff basically in a vacuum. So at a certain point, I'm just trying to entertain myself.
Have you ever hidden anything in the design? Like besides the glow in the dark stuff, like kind of like hid little Easter eggs?
Oh yeah, all the time. So like I've done posters for Horrible Crows, which was a spinoff for Brian Fallon and Ian Perkins of Gaslight Anthem. And I did it so if you look at it, the pattern in the background is all Morse code. And it's like asking riddles of like, who is the lady killer and stuff like that. And the answer is always Ian Perkins, because, he's definitely slayed my heart. But just do things to entertain yourself, because at this point, the world's a dreary place. So I did a poster for Frank Turner where it was a mailbox wall at a hotel. And I put in just hundreds of little drawings of fans of his, or references to songs that people wouldn't understand.
X-ray glasses, knobs and boxes, entertainment
for advice for working in the music industry.
Yeah.
Always ask for double whatever they want to pay you, because they're always going to lowball you. Don't work for people that you don't understand or appreciate, because I've done a lot of posters for bands that I don't quite get, like Fish, and I try to do my best, but I don't think it ends up speaking to the audience the way that it should. Like when I work for bands that I really love, you can tell. Like there's a lot of, oh yes, this references this lyric in this song. And I think that is a really important aspect if you want to do great design.
That's awesome. Speaking of starting out, when you were younger, I ask this of every guest, and I guess I'll change the question a bit. I usually ask, what's the first album cover you remember? But for you, because it is about inspiration and that moment that you become mesmerized and you want to know more and it kind of sparks the interest, what's the first gig poster that really stuck with you?
First gig poster.
Yeah.
Okay.
Do you remember? Did you have the answer to the other question?
I had an answer to the record one.
Yeah, you go either one.
And that one, so I grew up in a really small town, and my house was 170 years old, and middle of nowhere, Massachusetts. So most of the music we listened to was on the radio because my parents didn't buy music. And so the way I actually learned about record covers was going to church and being told what record covers were evil.
Yeah.
So like Led Zeppelin, Hotel California by Eagles, anything by Kiss, and then the Black Sabbath cover with like the really creepy woman on it.
Oh.
Those were like, I cannot wait to hear this music. Like I saw those and like went to like the Strawberries music store 4 towns over and picked those up. And I liked all of them except for Eagles.
Well, yeah. I don't think they have enough guitars or toms in the drum kit.
Yeah, I think they just needed some more cocaine and they really would have
all
found
of that.
Themselves. Yeah.
Yeah.
For gig posters, when I started driving into Boston, I can't say what particular gig poster it was, but it was really all the shitty flyers that I'd see for hardcore shows up at Newbury Comics. And I loved them primarily because they were so bad, but they had so much passion in them. And it was just very like, I need to do something to promote my band. I love this band, hate this band, whatever. So people would just draw or collage and photocopy something 800 times and then put it up. And I loved the immediacy of it because most of the art that I had seen are like these painstakingly rendered paintings that are only hung in galleries or like comic books, which, I mean, becoming a comic book, illustrator, when you're 13 or 14 just seems like the dream job. And, only the chosen few get those. So to see like, shitty punk flyers was kind of a revelation to me,
Well, yeah, because the thing about punk is there's no rules. That's the thing.
You just blew my mind right there. I had no clue that was coming.
No rules. Wait.
Yeah.
I have another
setting here. Now that I sound like a man, let's really talk.
Let's get into our feelings.
Okay, so I'm almost out of time. What do you want us to know?
I have this new book coming out.
Yeah.
Let it bleed. The website is Let It Bleed with hyphens in between. You can find it at my website, rocketsarered.com. And yeah, I don't know what else. Don't get COVID. Be nice to each other.
What's your Instagram is also at Rockets Are Red, right? Sorry to interrupt you. Okay.
Yeah. And you'll go there and not see my face so that you'll actually see design stuff instead of me with a chai latte.
I know. I think people think they're going to see design when they go to mine and they see cats and sunsets.
Really, though?
And it's very disappointing.
I do like your design, but in this world, we need more cats and sunsets, actually. It's much more important than posters for social distortion.
Well, good work. Well done. We're looking forward to your book in the year 2023. Thank you for joining me, and I'll see you on the other side.
Thank you very much. It was a pleasure.
It was a pleasure. Bye. Take care. Hope you feel better.
Thank you. Talk soon.
Bye.